declaring that prophethood, they had to spend 40 years amongst their people, amongst their nation. Not just for people to know them, the prophets, but for the prophets to know the people. Once you reach the age of 40 years old, the man's vision completely changes. Especially before this age of Dajjal and Fitna. Now 40 years old, he still thinks he's 16 years old. 60 years old, they still think they're 16. They're still looking. But in the old days is what? 1,000 years ago? No, 100 years ago. 40 years old, especially in Islam, Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying, be careful. If your good deeds are not more than your bad deeds by the age of 40 years old, I'm paraphrasing, you're in big trouble. But what does that mean? That means, I'm saying this because I'm asking you a very simple question. We're saying this, we're asking permission from them to speak, of course, to send something. Because we're saying, sometimes the simplest things, it is the most difficult to answer and to explain. Isn't it? What is more simple than La ilaha illallah? Nothing. But it is endless in its oceans of meaning. It's endless. But even that La ilaha illallah, that is the most simple thing, it is revolutionary. Holy Prophet ﷺ came to say La ilaha illallah, and they all opposed him. Especially when he says Muhammad Rasulullah. Oh, then they get even more upset with him. But before that, before he reached the age of prophethood, he was living with them. What was he doing? He was understanding them. What were they doing? They were loving him. El-Amin. One of his other names is As-Siddiq. They call him the trustworthy one. We trust him. Before prophethood, they trust him, they love him. From the smallest questions to the biggest political issues, they consult with him because they know he is never going to lie. El-Amin. Everybody loved him. What changed then? When he says La ilaha illallah. But he spent 40 years understanding. If you don't understand the people that are around you, especially if you are a leader, very easy that time you become a tyrant. Because you say, I'm separate from them, I'm different, I'm special, I'm holy. My family is holy, not yours. You understand? But Prophet ﷺ, he spent not only just the 40 years, in the 23 years that happened after that. How many times he went to the doorstep, to the feet of his own uncles who are plotting every day to kill him. The same one that celebrated his birth by freeing the slave that came to bring the news. He was so happy. He was so happy, he was so proud, he loved his nephew. What happened? He became one of his greatest enemies. But the Prophet ﷺ never gave up on him. Once there was a man. He hated the Prophet ﷺ so much, astaghfirullah, hasha. Every day, he would collect all the garbage and he would dump it in front of the Prophet's doorstep. So that when he opens the door, the Prophet is going to step into the garbage. Every day without fail. Prophet ﷺ did not open his hands. Understand, Rahmatul lil Alamin, the mercy of the universes. He never opened his hand to punish his nation. Never. All earlier prophets, they did. He never. Because he is a prophet of intercession. That when his own daughter got very upset one day, because seeing how the father and her, they were sitting down and they were eating the coarse bread And it was filled with all other things. It was filled with small stones, and they were eating and they were grinding their teeth. And the Prophet ﷺ eating and saying Alhamdulillah, and says, it will come a time, oh my daughter, Ya Fatima, in the Akhir Zaman, my nation, they are going to eat bread that they're just going to put in their mouth and it's going to melt. They don't have to chew. It's just going to melt. But they are not going to give thanks to their Lord. Hazrat Fatima, seeing how her father was, seeing how everything was, she got. Then she says, may all their teeth be. Then Prophet says, oh, stop, don't open your mouth. Because once you say, oh my daughter, Allah is listening and He's going to grant it to you. What she was saying to do, sit down somewhere, sohbat is happening. What she was saying, may all their teeth be rotten. Look around. Who doesn't have rotten teeth, especially in the first world? Eating everything, not giving thanks. Understanding the words of the Ahlul Bayt. Understanding the words of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Cursing the nation. Do you ever hear the Prophet ﷺ cursing his own uncles? Do you ever? Abu Lahab. Allah gave him that name. He has a different name. He's pulling fire to himself. That's why I say he's the father of the fire. His other uncle, Abu Jahil, the father of ignorance. He had a different name. Allah gave him that name. Ever the Prophet ﷺ was cursing at them. Something to think about in these days of extreme emotion. So this man, he put garbage in front of the Prophet ﷺ's doorstep every single day. One day the Prophet ﷺ opened his door, he didn't see any garbage. Called his Sahabis and say, check up on that man. He didn't put garbage in front of my door today. He must be sick. If he is sick, I must go to visit him. Prophet went. He visited him. This man looking, he started melting his heart. He said, all my life I'm making it so difficult for you. And one day I made it easy for you, and you came to pray for me, to ask me how I am. What an ignorant, what an evil person that I am. How is the faith not going to enter the heart then? It's going to enter into the heart. The man woke up. The Prophet ﷺ knows his nation. Not just the people in his generation, he knows his nation. He knows his nation from that time until Judgment Day. He knows his nation. He knows us. He knows you, he knows you, he knows you, he knows me, he knows everyone here. Better than we know ourselves. And he loves us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, here I am. Especially on holy nights, he's saying, here I am. What do you think the Holy Prophet ﷺ, when we call him, he's going to say? Here I am. How are you going to say, here I am, if you don't understand that one? You're not going to give just an answer because you've heard it somewhere. You're not just going to give an answer because you really believe in it. You're going to look at your belief. Once you start looking and questioning your belief, because if you cannot explain your belief very simply so that a 7-year-old person can understand you, you don't really believe it. You cannot explain it. So many times, I cannot explain. You really believe it. Why you can't explain? Because you never tried to look at it. You never tried to say, yesterday I said, La ilaha illallah. But I did so many things. I thought so many things. I said so many things that is against La ilaha illallah. Today, I must try to move away from all of that. I had so much stubbornness that I refused to see anything. Stubbornness is standing in front of La ilaha illallah. Now, if you don't try to understand, how can you give? The prophets, they love their nation more than the father loves his sons. But they are higher than our fathers. In fact, we cannot even say the Prophet ﷺ that he is our father. It is not given, it is forbidden. Correct or no? Do we call Allah our father? No, because we grew up. You don't need these terms to use because it's the only thing that you know. Now you're growing up, you know something better. He is Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. He is Allah, Rabbil Alameen. He is not your father. One day you can say, I love you. Next day you can say, I hate you, Dad. No. And the Prophet ﷺ showing us how was he able to speak then to his families, to the people in Mecca, to the people in Medina, to the people coming all the way from China, from India, just by saying, because it is the truth? No, he understood them. He found a way to speak to their heart. And to speak without arguing, that only the prophets and the saints they can do. Common people like you and me, you say something, you have to say 10 other things, 100 other things. Oh, it's fighting. But no, say something. Then you must find a way. Ask those questions to yourself. I asked a very simple question. We started by saying, do you know your name? You don't know your name. Where are we going to go from there then? You don't even know your name. And I said, okay, very simple things. Somebody were to ask you, why are you following Islam? Because it is the truth. You're going to ask a Christian, he's going to say, because it's the truth. Because Christ said, I'm the way, I'm the truth, and I'm the light. The one who follows me follows the Father. Something like that. So many other people are going to say, but the ayat is inna dina indallah al-Islam. So how are we going to say? Why are you following that? Then you have to speak very simple, very honestly. What, by being a Muslim, what kind of a Muslim you are. So many people saying Islam is the truth. Of course it is. But they're following the truth. But we look, they're not truthful people. How you, as a person who is following in this way, why you follow. So, anyway, these definitely are the days that we should question our faith. The aim of tariqat is not just to say, okay, now I'm following a shaykh, I'm set for life and for the afterlife. Definitely I'm going to go to paradise, Jannatul Firdaus and everything. No. You enter into tariqat to look at your faith. You're following a sheikh, you're following a saint. You look at their faith and you look at your faith. Now, if you're really following your faith, it cannot be the same as theirs, definitely. But now you try fixing the things that you know that they are lacking. And that time you'll be on the way. That time you'll move to higher stations. That time you will understand. Your heart is going to open. When Shaykh Abdul Karim Effendi Hazrat, when he first came here, Sheikh Maulana says, make the people love you. He came here when he was 19 years old. Didn't speak a word of English. He had a couple of dollars in his pocket. He just finished fighting in the war in Cyprus. He became a Ghazi, fighting for Islam. And he came, and within a few years he's able to build himself up. Within a few years, Allah put him to examine the people who are the movers and shakers of this world. He was an attaché to the United Nations, to see, to observe. He grew up from the hands of the Sultan al-Awliya. Of course, what he's going to see is different from what we're going to see. But he's looking, he's understanding. He quit from that job, understanding how they work. What are their games? What are their words? He started driving a taxi cab. Now, from that high to that level, where it's just regular people, again, understanding how they work, how they think, what are their desires, what are their needs, what are the things that they hold valuable in their lives. Opened up a business, which is again, business is sunnat. Understanding then people living, especially in that district there. So many people coming and going, left that. So many transformations that he went through. Why? You have to understand. You have to understand those around you. You're a sheikh, you have to understand the nation that you are in. You cannot say, well, I'm Turkish, these are Americans, I cannot. No. All the more you must understand. That is Ottoman anyway. The Ottomans, before they send any family, strong-rooted family, or scholars to teach Islam, or to teach the Islamic way, they make sure the people that they send, they know how to speak the language of that people. They understand the history of that people. They understand their culture. They understand everything about them. Then they send. All it boils down to what? You have to speak them from their own level. You have to understand their level. You have to speak from that level. You have the truth. You speak from that level, but you cannot reach to them. You're supposed to give them the truth, and you cannot reach down to their level. You are going to be punished. Making the people to love him. Because if they can find one thing that they like about him, representing his grand sheikh, representing the Holy Prophet ﷺ, in reality, they love the way of the Prophet ﷺ. Safety will reach to them. So as much as we think that being in tariqat is separating ourselves from everything, it is also understanding everything that is happening around you and to enter into the hearts and into the minds of things that are around you. Because now if you stand and you are going to represent your shaykh, you're going to represent Islam. You have to have that knowledge and that authority to speak, to represent it properly. As much as we can. No two people are going to have the same kind of knowledge, but truthfully, sincerely. Inshallah, we'll speak more later. This much is enough for now. Wa min Allahu tawfiq. Al-Fatiha.